The docking bay of the Eternal Zenith reeked of ozone and desperation. Faraz wiped his greasy hands on his overalls as he stepped off the transport shuttle, his toolkit clanking against his hip. Around him, 30 of the galaxy's finest engineers, Kralix with their 6 manipulator arms, Voshan with their quantum computing neural matrices, and Threlkin with centuries of experience, stood in defeated clusters around a massive fusion core that pulsed with erratic, dying light. A human? The lead engineer, a towering Kralix named Zefthor, clicked his mandibles in what could only be described as disgust. Command sent us a human? Faraz had heard it all before. He gave a casual salute. Faraz Reeves, freelance mechanic. Heard you folks have a problem. Get out, human mechanic. Zefthor's voice boomed across the bay. We don't need some primitive ape-touching technology beyond his comprehension. This is a celestial-class fusion core. Your species was still burning fossil fuels when this was designed. That's true, Faraz admitted, approaching the core with an unhurried stride. We were also still figuring out fire when your ancestors were probably sailing between stars. But I'm here now, so maybe let me take a look. A Voshan engineer, its crystalline body refracting the core's unstable light, hummed with algorithmic precision. This human cannot help. We have run 47,000 diagnostic simulations. The quantum flux stabilizers are deteriorating at the molecular level. Replacement parts are 3 weeks away. The core will breach in 17 hours. 17 hours. Faraz whistled low. When this fusion core went, it would take half the station with it, and the 200,000 souls living aboard. Right, Faraz said, cracking his knuckles. So let's not wait for parts. Bella Chen, the station's human liaison officer, rushed into the bay, her dark hair pulled back in a hasty bun. She'd been the one to call Faraz, pulling every favor she had. Faraz, thank God. These engineers have been working for 3 days straight. They're brilliant, but they're thinking too perfectly. Faraz finished, already circling the fusion core. His eyes, unremarkable human eyes that lacked the infrared spectrum of the Kralix or the quantum perception of the Voshan, scanned the machinery with something the other engineers had forgotten. Intuition. Impossible, Zefthor spat. There is no solution without replacement stabilizers. The mathematics are absolute. Faraz tapped the core's outer housing, listening. Math is absolute. Engineering is art. He popped open his toolkit, a battered metal box that looked ancient compared to the sleek quantum fabricators the other engineers carried. Inside, mechanical wrenches, a plasma cutter, rolls of thermal tape, wire, and what appeared to be components from a dozen different species technologies, all jumbled together. The Kralix engineers recoiled. Those tools are archaic. They work, Faraz replied simply. He dove into the core's access panel, his smaller human frame allowing him to squeeze into spaces the larger engineers couldn't reach. Bella monitored his vital signs nervously while explaining to the gathered crowd. Human engineers learned to improvise because we had to. We didn't have perfect simulations or quantum computing. We had broken ships in the middle of nowhere and had to make things work with whatever we had. Inside the core, Faraz found the problem immediately. The quantum flux stabilizers were indeed failing, but not randomly. They were oscillating in a pattern. The Voshan's 47,000 simulations had treated each stabilizer as an independent variable, but Faraz saw something else. They were influencing each other, creating a cascade failure that fed on itself. Bella, he called out, I need you to reroute power from the secondary grid, all of it. That'll knock out life support to 3 decks, she protested, for about 8 minutes. Then we'll have it back. Trust me. Bella hesitated only a moment before executing the command. Faraz didn't have quantum perception or 6 arms, but he had something else. He'd fixed his first engine with a coat hanger and prayer when he was 12, kept a colony ship running with scavenged parts for 2 years, and once jerry-rigged a faster-than-light drive using a toaster and sheer stubbornness. He began bypassing the failing stabilizers, not replacing them but redistributing their function across the core's secondary systems the original designers had made redundant but never intended for primary use. It was inelegant. It violated a dozen safety protocols. The mathematics didn't balance perfectly, but it would work. What is he doing? A Threlkin engineer whispered, his ancient eyes trying to follow Faraz's impossible improvisation. He's using the thermal exhaust manifolds as temporary flux regulators, Bella breathed. watching the readouts, and the emergency coolant system as a buffer. That shouldn't work? It won't work permanently, Feroz grunted, sweat dripping down his face as he welded a connection that no engineering manual in the galaxy would approve. It'll buy us 3 weeks. Plenty of time for your parts to arrive. 16 minutes later, Feroz emerged from the core covered in coolant, burns on his forearms but grinning. The fusion core's light steadied, its pulse becoming regular. Every diagnostic suddenly shifted from critical red to stable yellow. The docking bay fell silent. Seth Thor's mandibles clicked in confusion.
How?
The equations assume perfect components in perfect conditions, Feroz said, accepting a water bottle from Bella. But nothing in the real universe is perfect. You've got to work with what you have, not what you wish you had. A young Voshan engineer stepped forward, its crystalline structure shimmering with curiosity. Teach us, please, this improvisation. It's not in any of our databases. Feroz smiled and glanced at Bella, who smiled back with pride. Sure, kid. First lesson. Sometimes the best solution is the one that shouldn't work but does anyway. We humans call it mechanical sympathy. As the other engineers crowded around, their earlier hostility replaced with fascination, Bella leaned close to Feroz. You know you just made humanity look pretty good, right? He shrugged. We're good at making things work. Always have been.